Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street, and I can't wait to share this episode with you. Welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about teamwork. And this is really essential as a pro or as a business owner or any other role that you might have within the fashion industry. We have to figure out how to work as teams. Very few of us are able to really do everything at the expert level, whether that be creative design or technical design or managing production. There are just different mindsets that are required for all three of those. And then there are so many other jobs that are required within our industry. It's very, very essential for us to figure out how to be good team members, how to be good leaders, whether you are a manager or a mentor or not. You can still absolutely be a leader, even if you are an assistant fashion designer or an associate technical designer. Showing your leadership skills at that age and at that level can be something that will propel your career forward even faster than if you decide to keep that side of you hidden. So what I want to talk a little bit about today comes around the world of not just the way that you work, but how you work with others. And this is something that really got driven home for me when I was at Specialized. This is something that we talked about a lot as managers when we were doing annual reviews, when we were rating our teams and trying to get them raises and promotions and bonuses and those kinds of great things. One thing that we always talked about in the executive suite when we were talking about our teams was not just what's the work that they're doing and how are they doing that work, but how are they working with others? What is their way of working? Do people like working with them? Do people hate working with them? Are they a difficult employee? Do they complain a lot? Are they going above and beyond their job? Those are the kinds of things that we were talking about on a regular basis. And the way we worked as a human being, as a teammate, ended up being very, very important. It actually ended up weighing more at the end of the day than the work that you were doing, because we believed, and I still believe, that you can be trained on the work. Like you can learn more about the work. And that's what we're out here doing here at Unmarked Street in the Business of Apparel too, right? Like we're trying to educate you more on what's actually happening inside those big corporate buildings so that you can do the work better. But nothing is going to fix the way that you work other than you. And so this kind of came about for me. My husband and I were watching Top Gun Maverick the other day. If you haven't seen this movie, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. So if you're like, I haven't seen Top Gun Maverick yet, but I really want to, maybe don't listen to this full podcast episode. Go watch the movie and then come back to it. It's a few years old, so hopefully if you wanted to see it, you've already seen it. But something that really hit me when I was watching it, and we've watched it many times, we actually own the movie. And so we threw it in, and yes, we still have discs in our house. Like I know that makes us old fogies, but we're really into like having a good entertainment system. And so that's something that we still have. We still have a collection of discs that we still put in because they do tend to have better quality than if we're streaming them. And so you know this about me if you've listened to any of the previous podcasts, especially when I was doing my 40 to 40 series before I turned 40 last year. I talked a lot about how I'm a movie lover. I always have been. We watch a lot of movies. It's something that kind of helps us unwind either on the weekends or helps us unwind at the end of the night. And so we were watching Top Gun Maverick again the other day, and something kind of clicked for me while we were watching it for this extra time. And the team that gets chosen to basically go perform this mission with Tom Cruise and his leadership is all about teamwork. He's testing them. He's building a team. He's testing them to see how they're going to work together. And so the character played by Glenn Powell, his name in the movie is Hangman, is his call sign. And so they call him Hangman because he's always going to hang you out to dry if you're out flying with him. And it ends up not getting him the leadership role that he wants near the end of the movie because he's not a team player. And so there's so much to be said. And this Top Gun Maverick, I think, is a really good lesson in teamwork and how he has to figure out how to get people with other strong personalities, other ambitious people. And that was true at Specialized too. The people who were hired as Specialized and still are today usually come from a very athletic background. It's a business that is based very much around the fact that you understand the sport. And if you're a cyclist, you know that there is a very big competitive side to cycling. There is a huge aspect of it, no matter what kind of cycling you do, whether you're a gravel rider, whether you ride on the road, or whether you're a mountain biker. All of that has a huge competitive edge to it. And those of us who are out there doing those sports tend to also then have ambitions for competition. And it might not be competition necessarily in the way that like my husband does it, where he goes out. He's a Cat 3 road racer. So he actually goes out and competes and tries to win every freaking race. Like I'm looking out the window right now. There is snow all over the place. And he's literally on the trainer on Zwift doing an online race, trying to make sure that he wins that. There is a huge competitive edge to that. And even me, when I was much more into cycling, much more into my triathlon days, I was competing every other month. I was entering into a race, whether it was a half marathon, whether it was a sprint triathlon, whether it was the half Ironman that I did. There's always some kind of competition that you get driven toward, I think, when you're in the cycling space. So at Specialized, it was very natural for everybody to be driven, to be ambitious, to be competitive with each other. And that kind of rings true in the movie too. Like these are all the top graduates from Top Gun over the last several years. They're the best of the best. Like there's a line in there that even says, we're the best of the best. Who are they going to get to teach us? And of course it's Maverick, right? Because he's the best of the best. We all love Maverick and Tom Cruise. And that's supposed to be kind of part of the funny part of the movie too, where he's coming in to teach these kids who are amazing flyers how to do even better. But again, a lot of it comes down to the team that he has to be able to build and the support that they have to be able to give to each other. And when they do finally go fly the mission, it kind of all comes together in this moment where they're in a dogfight with a bunch of missiles being sent their way and they have to dodge all of these missiles. And the communication aspect, if you're paying attention to that scene in the movie, the communication that they have to have as a team is bar none. Like when you're thinking about the way that they're covering each other, calling out different things, making sure that someone's deploying the right tactical move to make sure that they're staying safe, they're protecting each other, they're working together. It's kind of a beautiful little dance that you get to watch. And so that really led me to think that is so applicable in our industry, especially because it's not just Specialized. That is an extremely competitive and ambitious company. If you work in the outdoor industry at all, if you work in the performance industry at all, you definitely see it because a lot of the people in that space come from competition backgrounds. It even exists in retail. It exists in the ready-to-wear space. Even when I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch or when I was working at Fossil, and we weren't necessarily making clothes for athletic people. We weren't necessarily on the performance side or the outdoor side of things. Even then, our industry likes to be extremely competitive. Management and leaders, for some reason, in our space, in our industry, like to pit people against each other. And so you end up competing with your peers for the raises and promotions that you want, or for a project that you really care about. And so there's an element of competition that is inside our industry, regardless of where you work. And you probably noticed this in some way, shape, or form while you've been a member of this industry. And so first of all, I want you to know that that's normal. When I started to experience it in my first job, I went elsewhere thinking that it was going to be better in other places and ended up finding that I got myself into situations where it was actually stronger competition, harder ambition, and even more so than I had experienced in my first job. And so I want you to know right now, if you are thinking, I'm at a place that is extremely competitive, other places are going to be better than this, I want you to know that you got yourself into an industry that is going to hone that skill of yours. You need to develop your own sense of ambition and competition. You have to be in it for yourself. And that maybe sounds a little bit selfish and it sounds a little bit harsh, But at the end of the day, the number one person who's going to be able to support you, prove that you are the right person for the job or that you are the right person for that promotion or the next level is you. You are going to have to fight for yourself a lot in this industry to get where you want to go. And if you're quitting jobs left and right because you don't think that the management or the leadership or the company itself is fighting enough for you, I'm here to give you a little bit of a wake-up call. You have to find that internally. You have to fight for that for yourself, and you need to stick with something so that you can prove to the leadership, to the management, that you have stick-to-itiveness. Like that, I know that's not a word, but it is a thing. Like you have to have commitment on some level to this industry, to your job, to continued education, to continued learning, to making yourself better, to understanding what all the other elements of this industry are. Those are the kinds of things that are going to help you get to the point where you want to get to. Now, we did an episode a couple weeks back about the generational understanding gap of salaries and success and promotion and raises. And so if you haven't listened to that one, I encourage you to go back to that. But this goes very much alongside what I was talking about in that episode. If you're in your first job and you don't think you're getting the support that you need, I encourage you to find a way to support yourself in a way that allows you to become the team member that is a leader regardless of your role, that is showing promise every single day, that has a positive mindset, who's excited about the work that you're taking on. You get to work in the fashion industry. It is a really fun industry to be in if you can find the drive for it. So again, this Top Gun Maverick analogy that I'm trying to make today, I think was just a really interesting light bulb that kind of went off for me. It was a great example of the way that you work ends up helping you get into the positions that you want and become a key member of an elite team that will do bigger and better things in our industry, in the world, and it will propel your career forward faster than anything else. So if you haven't watched the movie, it's a really good one. The music is good. I think just the plot is really good. It's a long one, but I think it really moves along quickly. You know, it was touted as one of the greatest movies made that year. And I actually think it was. I know it probably didn't win a bunch of awards, but when you think about awards versus like actual watchability of movies, I personally feel like there's a disconnect there sometimes. So if you haven't watched it, I encourage you to go watch it. Look for the teamwork aspect of it. Take something away from that and understand that the people who were willing to sacrifice for others, the people who were willing to maybe get themselves, quote, shot in the tests or in the practice runs that they were doing in order to protect their teammates. Those were the ones who ended up getting the promotion. Those were the characters who ended up becoming the leaders on the team that they ended up needing. And so that has a lot of parallels in our corporate world today. And so it's a fun way to maybe get a little bit of a wake-up call in that sense. And so I encourage you to have a little bit of fun, go watch a movie, learn a little bit of a lesson. And that was all that I really wanted to chat through today. If you liked this episode, or if you have another movie who maybe has a lot of great teamwork aspects to it, throw it my way. You know me, I love movies. I'm all about watching them. We can maybe have a chat about it. Chances are I've probably already seen it. So send some stuff my way. I would love to hear what you thought about this episode. And if you really liked it, please share it with someone and leave us a review. It means the world to us. If you're watching here on YouTube, please know that we are doing our best to grow our YouTube channel this year so that we can get this information to more and more people. The algorithm loves us when we have more subscribers. So please, please like and subscribe. That means the world to us. So thank you for being here with me today, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show. And if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, thebusinessofapparel.com, where I do weekly trainings through my YouTube video channel, a weekly newsletter, blog articles, and so many more resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand. This podcast is produced by Box 7 Media, who I cannot speak highly enough of. If you're looking to start your own podcast, you can reach out to Jeremy at Box 7 Media on LinkedIn anytime.